Grab a comfy chair and a glass of the good stuff. A swig of branding is ready to pour. This month in the SWIG Lounge, our timeless tips for top shelf marketing are about getting attention. Last week we covered reading minds with a blog that you'll want to take a look at. This week we're talking about engaging with words, and I've got some timeless tips for you. My first tip today is study the marketing masters. William Bill Bernbeck was one of the original madmen. He was an American agency owner who started masterminded such campaigns as the VW Think Small, Life Cereal, Hey Mikey, remember that one? And Avis We Try Harder, which was brilliant because he took a company that was second to Hertz and pulled out their unique selling proposition, which was, we know we're number 2, so we're going to treat you better. We're going to try harder. We're not going to phone it in. So study the marketing masters, study the marketing pros. There are many of them out there who were the original madmen, and that wisdom that they have to share is truly timeless. You're going to be using it no matter what the media of the day happens to be. Another tip is read good literature. Read the writing masters. You might be thinking, if I read this literature, isn't that just fluff? I mean, is this hardcore marketing? Well, let me read you a quote from Bill Bernbeck. He says, "Is creativity some obscure esoteric art form? Not on your life. It's the most practical thing a businessman can employ." So sowing into your creativity is actually one of the most practical things that you can do. And when you read good writing, you're more apt to either write well yourself, or if you're not a writer, recognize that kind of good writing if you hire someone to do it for you. Bill Bernbeck also said, good writing can be good selling, and I'll drink to that. I also like Matthew Arnold, who was a poet, William Shakespeare. There are a whole host of others, and this can be very enjoyable reading. My next tip is write for emotional impact. Aim for the heart. This is so very important because you are not going to engage people unless you engage their hearts, unless you grab their emotions. Again, Bill Bernbeck, it's not just what you say that stirs people, it's the way you say it. How you say something makes a big difference. If you're just extolling the virtues of your product or talking all about yourself, you're not going to engage emotions. You want to make people laugh or cry or get angry, indignant, whatever it may be. You need to carefully choose those emotions that you want to elicit in people. Bill Bernbeck also said, you can say the right thing about a product and nobody will listen. You've got to say it in such a way that people will feel it in their gut. If they don't feel it, nothing will happen. That's a good mantra to remember. If your audience doesn't feel it, nothing's going to happen. And you might think, well, there's no emotion behind what we're selling because people do their homework, they want facts and statistics. But you better believe there's an emotion behind that. It's wanting to be safe. It's wanting to feel like you've done your due diligence. Next tip, speak their language. Bill Bernbeck said, it is insight into human nature that is the key to the communicator's skill. The writer is concerned with what he puts into his writings, but the communicator is concerned with what the reader gets out of it. He therefore becomes a student of how people read or listen. And in our last blog about reading people's minds, I gave some really tangible tips on how to become a student of your audience, how to study them, how to know what they're thinking. There's some really, really good ways to do that. And if you haven't read that, go back and see it on swigofbranding.com. Next tip is be different. Crucially important. In advertising, not to be different is virtually suicidal, said Bill Bernbeck. The memorable never emerged from a formula, he said. And he was famous for really challenging the idea that marketing is a science or just a science. Certainly there are analytics to be studied, there's methodology, but really the best marketing and advertising is a creative endeavor. And if you don't have the creativity, you're simply not going to get noticed. Your brand isn't going to develop and you're not going to sell well. Playing it safe, said Bill Bernbeck, can be the most dangerous thing in the world because you're presenting people with an idea they've seen before and you won't have impact. There's a real proclivity for business owners to want their ads to look like ads, to feel that safety and security. Hey, my TV ad looks like a TV ad. My internet banner looks like an insurance, say, ad. But look at Geico. They hired a small agency and came out with ads like no one had ever seen before. What a dull, boring topic, car insurance. And yet they made it funny, they made it fun. And now look at all the other agencies, insurance agencies. They've come up with their own funny ad campaigns, Mayhem, whatever it might be, Flow. You know, they followed the trend, and it was Geico who broke that mold, and I think forever captured that top brand spot. But they're not sitting back on their haunches. They're continuing to reinvent, to come up with new campaigns. And they've done really well with that. So don't play it safe. Be willing to take a calculated risk. Talk to someone like me who's going to help you understand how to really make people laugh or to elicit some sort of emotion, but not go over that line. It is possible, but you've got to be different. As, well, gosh, as David Ogilvy said, study what your competition is doing and do the opposite. That's a really good point. If you're going to be exactly like your competition, you're not going to stand out. My last tip for this show is invest in creativity. Properly practiced creativity can make one ad do the work of 10. And there's a lot to this quote from Bill Bernbach. Properly practiced creativity. You really have to put the time and strategy into it. And it's really an art to be creative with your advertising. And he said can make one ad do the work of 10. I would say at least 10, because if an ad is dull and boring, it's not going to get attention. You have, on average, of something like 2.3 seconds to grab people's attention. I mean, we all have these cognitive filters. We can only take in so much information every day. Bill Bernbach said, it's not just what you say that stirs people, it's the way you say it. That's, again, something worth re-emphasizing. Well, that's it for now. We've reached the bottom of the glass. We'll be back next week with more timeless tips for top shelf marketing. Please, ooh, that's good stuff. Please share swigofbranding.com with your colleagues and friends. One tip from this series could increase your revenue, could get you more clients, and could save you money by avoiding marketing mistakes. So until next time, cheers. Grab a comfy chair and a glass of the good stuff. A swig of branding. Ah, jeez. All right. Did that seem smooth enough?